Yes, my name is Jonan Kandwanaho and I'm the CEO and founder at Jonaki Holdings Limited. And at Jonaki Holdings Limited, we give money. We give financial relief. If you have something emergent, if you have something you want to close, if you have a deal you want to address that needs money, we finance that. If you want to acquire a vehicle, we finance that. And that's what we do at Jonaki Holdings Limited. Yes, so you can always check out our website at www.jonakiholdings.com. You can contact us in Ntinda or our branch at Mulago Business Center. And anytime, any day, we are there to serve you. Great. So I've been doing a number of series, and this series that I'm doing is part 2 of my journey, at Jonaki Holdings Limited. The journey that I've walked. I understand that there are many people who lend money, who offer credit. There are those who intend to start. There are those who are still warming up. The best time to start is now. The best time was yesterday, and the next best time is now. So you can start. And that's why I share some of these stories, so that you can get encouraged and get going. Because you never have a perfect timing. You never have a perfect time. When you have all the money that you need, when you have all the things that you need, when you have all the stuff that you need, when the environment is all 100% perfect, I also look forward to such a time. It never comes. So you actually got to start with what you have and get going and grow it. And that's why I've been sharing with you my journey of lending money. So you can learn one or two things. If you've been contemplating, if you've been, kusinzira in Uganda, you get started. And most of the things you learn them along the way. Because some of these things that I tell you, you might not relate with them just because you've not started. So you do not have any experience to relate with. You don't have anything that you'd like to try out with the ideas that I share with you. So the best thing to do is start and then learn these things along the way. Great. So my part 2, you'll check out my part 1 on YouTube. Just get on YouTube and type in Jonan Kandwanaho. Part 1, you'll see my part 1 of my money lending journey. Of course, among other things that I've spoken about. So I'm going to pick it up from my part 1 where it ended. So it ended on the occasion when I'd gotten clientele. Because key thing if you're starting, you need clientele. Because just like a restaurant, you cannot cook the food and eat it yourself. So you cannot have the money and lend it to yourself. You cannot have the money and use it by yourself. By the time you know, you'll have no money to lend out. By the time you know, you actually do not have any money in the coffers because you spend the money. So you cannot serve yourself. So meaning that you need clientele. And 3 things I look at under the side of clientele. So you could be there and you're just starting, and you're saying, Jonan, I don't have any clients. I'm just starting. So the best thing to do is look out for clientele. And I got clientele first from my workmates, because I was working in a government institution, yes, before I moved out to the public. But I want to ask you a question. How many WhatsApp groups are you on? And what do you communicate? I've always told my colleagues, someone complains, there are very many weddings. I'm always added on these WhatsApp groups for weddings. That's a resource to me. And I really do pacts with the owners of those meetings, or the admins of those groups. Before someone adds me, I tell them, you're adding me on this, we have to do a pact first. You're adding me and I'm going to market my thing. So definitely, if he agrees, he adds me. And once in a while, I have my schedule when I post my adverts for Jonaki Holdings Limited on the different WhatsApp groups. So you should be able to bear it. Because if you can bear, just in quotes, some other crap, some posts that even sometimes don't make sense. So why wouldn't you encourage your members, your colleagues, to actually post their things that they sell? If I have clothes, if I have a boutique, if I have the cars that I sell, why not post them? And on some forums, actually, someone takes offense, you're like, Jonah, don't post such things. And if I don't front my company, who fronts it for me? That's a joke. So you exit me from the group if you're not willing to accept me to post my stuff. So some of the forums that I've utilized are wedding meeting groups. If the admin adds me, I'll definitely post Jonaki Holdings Limited. So that's the first starting point for your clientele, your colleagues. Some of you guys have businesses, but even your family members are struggling to know what you're doing. They do not know what you're doing, what business you're in. So how on earth are they going to support you if they don't know what you're doing? So you should be your business and the business should be you. You should be one with your business. You should comfortably market your business. Why? Because it's the one that even puts food on your table sometimes. It's the one that actually employs some of the people that you're employing. It's the one that makes sense to you, even if you employ it somewhere else as well. But still, the ultimate is that it is ultimately a business. Just like someone mentioned that your children or your family cannot inherit your job if you have one. It cannot. God forbid if you passed on, the only thing that someone can take on is your estate or even your business, but not your job that you had in government or anywhere in a company. So why not front something that you're comfortable with, something that you actually love? Challenge you have is that some of us are doing businesses as side hustles. You shouldn't do that as a side hustle. Front your thing. And it's only then that it can grow. So if you're starting to lend money, start aggressively to market. Identify with your business as a key highlight. Identify with your business, market your business, front it to faces of people, let your colleagues know, let your family members know that you do ABCD. And it's only then that you can actually come for money. If I'm stuck somewhere, I have an emergency, I'll definitely come to you if I know you lend money. Until I know that you lend money, I cannot come to you. So front it. Now, this second part is going to be gisted or going to be focused on the, now that you have clientele, because time arises when you have clientele and you don't have enough money to service them. And the same thing happened to me. So here I was at work, I didn't have as much money. Clientele through word of mouth had actually become very many with the staff that I was working with in the institution. And I was stuck with the clientele. I didn't have money. Isn't that a good problem? You're not struggling with the clientele, like you have clientele, and actually clientele that is able to pay, but you don't have the money. If banks borrow from other banks, who are you to think that you have all the monies that clients will need? Sometimes, or even most times, you don't have all the money that you need. So you got to get money from somewhere, cheaply. So what I would do is that I had my muram, a husband to my cousin sister. I greet you and I celebrate you, sir. Might not I like the name. So what I would do is that I would borrow money from this guy. They had a microfinance in Kamocha somewhere. I'd go borrow money at a lower percentage. I'd borrow money at 12%. I come then I still lending it out at a higher rate. I'd go borrow at 12% and I go lend it out at 20%. So I was making a difference of 8%. And it was significant money. It was significant money. So you can have access, if you're starting to lend money, you can have access to where the money is. If you have a deficit, you have to get money from somewhere. Some of you are encouraged to go to circles, go to investment clubs. That's why people join investment clubs. That's why people join circles. So that you can get cheap money. You can get cheap money to as low as 1% per month. And why not? You can lend it out at 5%, 8%, like we are at Jonaki Holdings. As a matter of fact, people buy into you before they buy into your business. So they need to trust you. There are guys who have proposals for businesses and they only need 10 million. But he doesn't have anyone to actually give him the money. Why? Because they cannot trust them with that money. They do not know them very well. They don't know their integrity. And yet, on some end, people are even stuck with money. I've had guys who have come and they say, Jonan, I have my 100 million. Just put some small profit, just small interest. You see, while there are some others who are struggling to get the money, there are others who have the money and they don't know where to put it. So you have to have a contact. You have to have a contact. You have to belong to those clubs where you're forced to save. You don't just save for, you save so that you can actually use the money. If you save in a circle and they lend at 1%, you can pick that money and go and invest it. But I warn you, if you've not proven that concept, in project management, they what call proof of concept. If the business has worked before, Now I can confidently go pick money from somewhere because I know my concept has worked. It has stood a test of time. It has been working. So even that's why someone finds it easy to say, Jonah, you know what? I have my 100 million. I want to invest it with you. Why? Because they've seen it work. I can show them the numbers. They can look at the statement. So they can actually confidently invest their money. But some of you are still having the ideas. You've not had proof of concept. Before someone invests in your project, you have to have proof of concept. Start with your small money, prove the point, know that the thing is feasible, burn your hands here and there, just like you've burnt our hands, and then you can actually ask for money. But not borrow to start from zero. Don't start from borrowed money. First do proof of concept, and then you can actually have a good problem of having clientele, and you have capital, and then you can go out there in circles. You know, we have a number of circles in the country, investment clubs, those small savings groups. That's why they are there. That's why they are there. You're not saving for the sake of saving. You actually have to get cheap credit so that you can invest in the business or the venture that you're starting. In this case, if you want to lend money, start small with the amount that you have, whether 1 million, whether 400,000. Because I told you, you'll check in my part 1 and subscribe also to my YouTube channel. You check the amount that I started with amongst my workmates. But gradually, the clientele grew and I had to look out, think, crack my head and know where do I get the money. Until I found out, I can get cheap money and come and relend at a higher rate. So you cannot have it all. So I'm encouraging you that if you've been encouraged to join circles, small savings groups, circles, investment clubs, go join them. Start saving. Pick small monies that you've saved. Go and invest with the actual money, but not borrowed money. Start the business, have a proof of concept, and then you can actually start borrowing when you know something is working. Rather than borrowing and you get stuck with the money. Otherwise, there is cheap money. That whereas you're struggling to get a facility of 10 million, someone is there stuck with 300 million. He's looking out for where to invest it. What a good problem. So you have to build your profile, you have to build your company, you have to have proof of concept. Then you can actually know that, I can actually grow. I can pick credit. I can access some more money. So this highlights my point number, my journey part 2. My journey part 2. I reached a moment, I had very big clientele, I had no money, so I had to get cheap money, come and invest. Now, I'll highlight 2 things with this thing, the challenge with this thing, is that if you don't have proof of concept, and you pick some other person's money, your profile, your integrity is in jeopardy. Because a case might arise when you're serving clientele, first, that you're not sure of. Secondly, sometimes you're operating informally, like I was doing. And that's why my third part is going to be on informality, how I transitioned from informality to formality. And it's important that before you access any other monies, if you have a deficit, you have clientele who need the money, before you address that deficit, you need to make sure that all the gaps are bridged for the money not to leak out. Because the moment the money leaks, the moment you have a leakage somewhere, the moment your system has leakages, has gaps, then you're going to pick that money from someone and you're not going to be able to pay it genuinely, because you're going to give the money to the clients, and because you don't have systems, clients will take advantage of your situation and then they refuse to pay. Why? Because you don't have systems. Someone will come and give you a logbook, and before you know it, because you've not caveated it, he'll go and sell it to someone else. You cannot know until there's an encumbrance. So unless there's a caveat, that's when you cannot be able to sell it. Someone gives you a logbook, you actually can caveat it, but also you've not installed a tracker. Someone can drive it to Congo and sell it from there. Someone can even do spare parts. So you can see, if you have a tracker installed in the car, you can know where it is. So it's important that before you pick some other person's money, you first have to ensure that you actually insulate your system from those leakages. And that's why I've emphasized, and I'll still emphasize, that You're not the first person to run that business. You're not the first person to do that business. Get someone to walk that journey with you. Most of the guys who are serious, most of the guys who have grown, cannot squander their time, and they cannot commit their time free of charge. Sometimes you meet it at a cost. If it is a cost, meet it, because sometimes the cost that you might encounter might knock you out of business. It might be very expensive for you. You might give out money and vanishes because you've not done double checked, you've not done your surveillance, you've not ensured that you have the collateral and it's right. And you find that the opportunity cost of paying a mentor or getting someone to walk the journey with you is not anywhere close to the loss that you've incurred. So I'll still emphasize it. You're not the first in that industry. Get someone to walk the journey with you. Might not be me, but someone who is doing it and doing it better. Not these things, not those guys who have just read, someone is telling you from a hypothetical point of view. Because he has read very nice books, because he has read this information from papers, someone who has done it, someone who is doing it. And not just doing it, but doing it better than you're doing it. Someone who is at a level that you envy. Someone who is at a level that you actually anticipate to reach at. And this might not be tailored to money lending alone. Could be any other business. Get someone. You're not a pioneer. You're not a star. You have someone above you. Engage them. Meet that cost. Because much of the things that we get free of charge, just like this talk, I do it free of charge. But people don't take things serious until he burns his hands, and then he can know that, what this guy was talking about was actually right. So don't wait to burn your hands. And that's why some of the mentors or coaches charge you, because he knows that something you've paid for, you take it serious. That's why we pay for our degrees. Because once you pay for your tuition and you go through all that system, it becomes different. I also want you to compare two things. If parents have paid for your tuition to do the university, and the time you paid your tuition to undergo a particular course, you find that you took the course that you paid for yourself more serious than actually the bachelor's that was paid for by your parents. That's a true scenario. It's a clear case. Why? Because you didn't invest your money, but now you've invested your money. So you're taking everything to the detail. You're even serious and attentive in class. Why? Because you put in your money. So if you pay for this journey, if you pay for this mentorship, if you pay for this coaching, you'll be impelled upon you to actually follow the things that you paid for. And if you're so lucky and you get a mentor who can walk with you the journey, and you don't have to pay, still appreciate them, value their time, because you'll be very lucky. Because my assumption is that something you've not paid for, you will not value much of the time. Someone will speak, someone will advise, and this happened to me point blank. Because as not paying at the start, someone tells you something, you do A. He tells you B, and before you know it, you burn your hands. I think I'll come to share with you that story in my part 3, the formality versus the informality. What I benefited from transforming or transitioning from being informal to being formal. So I see time is fast spent for us here. I'll have to close it at this. I look forward to having you for part 3, where I'll get to tell you the stories, how we burnt our hands, because you have this mentor, he's not charging you, he's giving you the information and knowledge. He tells you, Jonah, don't transact. You go ahead and transact, because the deal looks clear, and yet it's not, until I had to take things serious. So I'll get to share with you that story in part 3. But for now, I appreciate your time. It's a pleasure to have you this Friday in a public holiday. I always look forward to having you, and I hope that 1, 2, 3 things that you learn, you implement them. I've always told you, you learn, but if you don't implement, you'll not benefit. And you'll have devalued your time coming here, you'll have devalued your data, and you'll also have devalued my time coming here to speak to you. So go learn 1 or 2, 3 things, implement them. Take action. I've got a few feedback from some of the guys, and I'm so glad. Such feedback fills my tank. Someone tell you that, you know what, Jonan, I learned ABCD and this is what I'm doing. Some of the guys have taken them on. I meet them, I create time for them and meet them. Why? Because you've taken action. I want people who are progressive. I want people who don't just listen for, but also implement what they actually learn. I want to identify someone who is growing, who is progressing, so that we can meet at the top. You know, at the top there is lonely. So you need to have as many people up there as possible. And that's when the world and the community will be very, very interesting place to live in. And why not? That's why we exist, to support one another, because ourselves have been supported to reach where we're at. So there's no reason as to why we should not support others and help others as well. Yes, I appreciate your time, and I speak a blessing over you guys. I thank you for your time. I speak a blessing over your businesses. May the Lord bless the works of your hands. May the Lord guide you. May the Lord save you from fraudsters and thieves. May the Lord shield you and shine his face upon you. I love you guys. You can always check out my YouTube channel. You click on that bell if you want notification when I post a video. You also subscribe so that you can keep following as we sharpen one another. I appreciate you. I love you guys. Have a great evening and the rest of the weekend. See you next Friday, 5:30 to 6. Blessings. Cheers and have a great Friday and great weekend. Thank you.